This is a Dude Studios production. And hey, I'm the dude.
Hey bartender, pass me a drink. A reason that I'm here is I need time to think.
Welcome back to Hey Bartender Podcast. I am your bartender for the evening. I am the dude, or you can call me Anthony. I'm cool with both. How's everybody doing? It's going, well, it's going around here. It is Saturday night. It's time to party. Of course it is. Unless you're listening to this on a Tuesday, then, well, party if you want. But remember, some of us got to work tomorrow morning. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about working the day shift in the bar. And we're going to be hearing a single from Silver Synthetic called In the Beginning. That's later on in the show. But before we get the show started, we got to start off with the drink special as per usual. I've been sitting around, I've been talking to a lot of people, and a lot of people have been talking about Crown Royal Apple. Now, I'm not being sponsored by Crown Royal, but I'm going to mention them by name just because it's the only way to make sense, and I don't know of any generic liquor out there that is whiskey flavor with apple flavor in it. So, Crown Royal Apple. So I started looking around the internet and on Crown Royal's website. I mean, if you want to look up a drink recipe for a specific liquor, just go to their website. You can find it right away, and they have all sorts of suggestions for things that you can do for all sorts of situations. So I looked around in there and found what is called an apple bomb. This sounds like a pretty damn good drink if you ask me. The ingredients go as follows. 1.5 ounces of Crown Royal Regal Apple, 3 ounces of pineapple juice, 1 ounce of cranberry juice. Now, how you make this? You combine all those ingredients, the Crown Royal Apple, the pineapple juice, and the cranberry into a shaker. Shake the shit out of it. Thank you once again, Randy Lynn. And strain it into a glass filled with ice. Garnish with a slice of apple if you got it. And then you got yourself a pretty damn good drink. So, go out there. I'll have a picture of it on social media, on my Facebook page and my Instagram page. Go try the Apple Bomb, courtesy of Crown Royal, and let me know what you think about it. I want to know what you guys what your customers think about this. Maybe if you're going to try it at home by yourself. I know some of you guys have your own liquor cabinets at home, and try it yourself. Let me know what you think about it, and I'll give you a shout out on the show. So, yeah. Anyway, so people, get into today's topic. Today is working the day shift in your bar or restaurant. Now, most restaurants that don't serve breakfast, they open around, say, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, but pretty much between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock, you are stuck doing all the opening procedures. You got to fill the bins with ice. You got to get the registers ready. You got to, unless you have your own till, and you got to get everything set up, prepped, cleaned, and maybe catch up on a couple of things that the guy or girl the night before didn't quite get to. But you got to do a lot of stuff. There's a lot of responsibilities that maybe your manager put on you. Maybe you even got to empty out the lottery machines. Who knows? I'm going to tell you guys right now, I was never, ever a fan of the day shift. Because just to me, there wasn't a lot of money to be made. And you spent most of your time standing around, especially if you were really on top of doing your side work. And so you're pretty much stuck kind of standing around, maybe talking to a few random people that are talking to your cook, talking to your other server, and that's pretty much the way life was in my bar during the day shift. The first bar I worked at, I'm pretty sure that the owners had the intention of putting me on the day shift. It was pretty. I think I've talked to you guys about it before. It was pretty much a sympathy hire because the owners of the first real bar that I worked at. I'm not going to talk about the time where I was a banquet bartender. I ran into the owner's daughter because we're old family friends, and mentioned, "Hi, I'm unemployed, and I went to bartending academy, and I'm having a shitty time trying to find a job." And she's like, "Well, we'll see what's open at our bar. You can come work there." And sure enough, about a week later, I got a phone call. They said, "Yeah, come on in. We got a couple shifts open for you." And I was like, "Oh, thank God, I need money," because I was young and I was in my early 20s and I was still living with my parents, and beating myself up about every damn thing because there was a lot of drama going on at the time, at least in my head. So I get there, and for the first week, I'm shadowing the night bartender. And after he realized after 1 or 2 days that I pretty much had the hang of everything, he felt comfortable enough to go out and shoot a little bit of pool with some of the other guests, and I pretty much handled the bar. The following week was really interesting because they said, "Okay, for next week, you're going to be working the day side. We want you to learn how to work on the day side shift." And it started to feel like that was their intention, is to put me on the day side shift. But all of a sudden, the owner came into the bar one morning and found a strange box sitting on top of the bar, and he opened it up and found there was a large amount of weed in it. And the night bartender at the time, who I'm told through his friends and one of his ex-girlfriends that he was a real super genius, and I'm using that sarcastically, he left his weed on top of the bar, and he called up the bar the next morning and said, "Hey, did you happen to find a small case sitting on top of the bar?" And the manager was like, "Well, yes, I did." And he goes, "Yeah, can you keep that for me? And I'll be right in to get it." And the manager said, "Come right on in. It'll be right here." Yeah, he was fired. And I was already working the day shift that day. I came in, they showed me how to do everything, and what they expect when they open up the bar, cut the fruit and do and wrap the cutlery, all that stuff. And all of a sudden I started realizing something was up, and they came over to me and said, "The girl that was supposed to work tonight, we asked her to work tonight, but she said she can't come in. And the other two people are now gone." They actually told me the reason why they were gone. And our other two bartenders are actually gone. And the other girl that we were going to have work tonight can't come in. Would you mind working tonight too? And I was like, sure, why not? Working from opening to close in a bar, especially when you're wearing your dad's old Vietnam combat boots, hard on the feet. And so I powered through it. There was not a lot of business that day. There wasn't a lunch rush. There was really no dinner rush, and there really wasn't much going on at night. I actually do remember that night sitting on top of the bar while karaoke was supposed to be going on, because they were just playing music because there was nobody there to sing karaoke. And I'm sitting on top of the bar and I'm watching The Critic, and it's old cartoon, starred John Lovitz. Don't worry about it. It was a good show, funny, but I don't think it's played anywhere anymore. But I remember thinking during the day side of that, I had to do a couple day shifts, especially when they hired on Shannon. They immediately put me on day shift, and I thought, this is where I'm going to end up. And because Shannon was a well-known bartender in that town, and she knew all the customers. She brought in a lot of business, and so they were going to move me, a guy who's not from that town, who doesn't know the customers. They were going to put me on the day side and just let me handle lunch rush. And at that particular restaurant, the lunch rush wasn't that huge. Maybe 5-6 tables. And I tried my best to be nice to all of them. I ran the tables. I cleaned the tables. And but then all of a sudden, from between 10 o'clock and say like 11:30, there was nothing to do. But then lunch rush hit. From 11:30 to about 1:30, you are running back and forth like a chicken with its head cut off. But then from about 1:30 till about maybe 3, 4 o'clock, you are dead. There is nobody in there. And so you're stuck just sitting there. Well, I might as well have some lunch. And so, and you're kind of keeping up on your side work at the same time so that when the next person comes on shift, all you have to do is just go, okay, this person has this tab, this person has this tab later. And you burst out the door. And I actually remember making Shannon laugh that day because I didn't know anybody working at when I was working at that bar. I'd maybe worked at that bar for maybe, I don't know, a month or two. We lost a lot of customers at that bar after the other 2 bartenders got fired, mostly because probably they knew they couldn't buy weed there anymore. But we lost a lot of customers, and they ended up going over to one of the other bars in the area. So I, just tried to do my best to just keep my sanity, and because no matter what, I was getting paid by the hour. So I'm sitting on my ass because I got nothing to do. I'm still getting paid for it because everything's clean. Side work is finished. I just have to wait for the next person to come on shift. But around 3 or 4 o'clock, people start coming in after work, and they start just kind of trickling in a few at a time. And I didn't know anybody from anybody, and just because I'm brand new in town, I never frequented that bar. I knew nothing. So I'm trying to make friends. I'm trying to break out of my introverted bubble and try to actually meet people, talk to people, learn their names, which I am absolutely horrible with. And I remember making Shannon laugh because when we were switching over the shift and the people that I knew were going to be there for a few more hours, if not for the rest of the night, I didn't close out. I didn't know that I could close out their tabs and then have them start a new one with Shannon. Because basically I started their tabs and they could have tipped me out, but I just gave all of it to Shannon. And when I was going over with Shannon, I said, okay, I'm really sorry. I don't know these people's names, but this tab marked guy in the red shirt, it's that guy in the red shirt. And the blonde over there, her tab is called Oh Yeah. And Shannon starts laughing. She goes, oh yeah. And I said, all right, we cool? And she says, yeah, we're cool. And I said, all right, I'm out of here. Boom, hit the door. And it was interesting just because I had everything done. I had everything prepped. There was nothing to do anymore. And before Shannon started working there, I had worked maybe 1 or 2 months straight of nothing but night shifts. And I was the only bartender that worked at night, except for on Friday, Saturday nights when I had a server on the floor. And I'm using that term loosely because she didn't really like being on the floor. She preferred to be behind the bar. But so we're out slinging drinks as fast as we can, but we had no busser, we had no dishwasher, we were getting killed. And so after a while, Shannon starts up, and then they all of a sudden think, okay, Anthony, you're going to be working the day shift on this day, and this day, and then you're going to be working the night shift on this day and this day. And I just thought, okay, yeah, whatever. I hate split shifts. I either want to be a night worker or I want to be a day worker. I prefer to be a night worker because I like working at night. But they decided that they could do split shifts with me. But after only a few weeks, lucky for me, Shannon all of a sudden said, there's too many people in here. I need help. Because she had a room full of people doing karaoke, and she had a pool area full of people doing pool tournaments. and she says, I need help. Get Anthony in here right now. They gave me a call. I had to cancel a date with my girlfriend at the time. Boy, was she mad. And I quickly ran into work because I saw an opportunity to make a couple extra bucks. And when I got there, Shannon was like, thank you so much. I love you. And immediately went to work, started throwing drinks as fast as I can. Even almost took out my boss because he was standing in my well. And I hate that. Do not stand in my well if you're a server or a manager. I will knock you out of the way. But from there on out, I never had to work a day shift ever again because they finally hired some more people. And the people that were already there were like, no, I want to work day shift because my kid goes to school and then I can be home with them. So, yeah, I'd prefer to work day shift. And so I never had to see a day shift ever again while I was working at that bar for the year and a half I was there. Was I there a year and a half? Maybe it was only a year. But the thing about working day shift is the customers, you don't have to get to know them because they're just in there and out. Because they are on a set time that they can have lunch, and then they jump out of there as fast as they can. Whether they've got a half hour or an hour, they come in. Yeah, just give me a sandwich, some soup, and an iced tea. All right, here you go. And as soon as they finish that up, they pay you, and they're gone. Tips were okay. I'm not going to knock that, but. There was really no reason to ever get to know anybody because they were in and out of there so fast. And if you did recognize somebody, you really didn't know I never actually took the time to get to know their name because they're in such a rush, or they're playing that trivia game because we had those in the bar, and they're paying more attention to that. They want to play that game because that's part of the obsessive compulsive thing that happens in a bar. And they're concentrating deeply on that, and then they actually get a little bit nerve-wracked when their food arrives. It's funny. They're like, oh, can the food just wait another... we're about to come up to the final round. But I said, eat it at your leisure. No, I got to get back at work in about 20 minutes. But luckily for me, Shannon and I worked really well together. She got the prime shifts Tuesday through Friday, and I worked half a day or half a night on Wednesday, Thursday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and worked all day Saturday and Sunday. It was all cool. But sometimes I worked Mondays, but then they hired another bartender to take that one shift, and because that's all he really wanted. He just wanted one bar shift, and he was a bouncer on Friday and Saturday nights. Well, no, after a while, he joined me behind the bar. But nonetheless, that was the end of day shifts when I was working that job. But you ever notice when you're after you work a string of night shifts and then you have to work during the day, everything looks different? It's like the sun looks weird, and all the whole restaurant looks kind of weird if they have a lot of windows at the restaurant. And it's just, everything feels awkward, weird, and, it's just, I don't know how to explain it. But which comes up to my next job. See, after I got fired from the previous bar that I was just talking about, I had to start over. And through luck and a good friend, my friend Shannon, she got a call from a guy that she knew that said, hey, we really need a bartender on Saturday night. Are you available? And she goes, well, I'm not, but I have a friend who is. And they said, perfect. Can you send him over? And I worked a night shift with this guy. Business, it was a really small bar, and you could tell they were struggling for business because this bar had a reputation, along with the owner's other bar, had a reputation for serving people under the table, and then they leave the place and get in a car accident, or the police pull them over, and they they blow above a .08, and so business wasn't really hopping at this bar. In fact, the really pretty blonde waitress that was working that night with me, she said, "Can you just handle all this? There's not enough. There's not enough business for us to both make money, and I'd like to sit with my friends and have a few drinks." And I said, "Yeah, sure. Knock yourself out." But after having a few drinks with her friends, she decided. Well, she actually finished all the side work. She did all the credit card receipts. She did all the everything. So I had to do very little except clean at the end of the night. And the cook, who was also kind of the manager of that place, he's like, "Well, do you need a job?" And I was like, "God, yes." And he says, "Okay, let's go to the other bar." And he took me to the other location. And, well, it was called the Sherwood Peddler. I can say it now because it's been out of business for a long time. And I'm pretty sure that the owner is long since passed away. But he took me over there. He introduced me to the night bartender that was there. I was kind of fascinated because the other bar closed at like 11, I think. And we went over to the other bar at about 1 o'clock, and it was supposed to be open until 2:30, but there was not a soul to be seen. And I thought, this place is kind of dead. And but the bartender that was there, really, really, really nice guy. He took me through the closing procedures and doing the books and all that sort of thing. And then they said, "So you got a job here?" And I'm like, "Oh, thank God," because after I got fired from the previous job, I had nowhere to go. I went around trying to apply for work at all sorts of places. I even called up the bartending academy and said, "Listen, I need help with the job placement assistance thing again. Can you please help me?" They never got back to me. But I needed a job in the worst way. It didn't matter where it was going to be. I think that was actually during the time where I tried to apply at a couple strip clubs, and they were like, "Wow, you've got a lot of experience, but how do we put this lightly? We don't really hire male bartenders." And, and I'm like, "No, totally cool. I totally understand that because, I'm not going to sue you guys for what you don't hire male bartenders around here. What the hell? I'm just not that type of guy, especially for something like that, because obviously trying to be a male bartender in a strip club, I felt like I was trying to excel on how big of a pervert I can be. I mean, no disrespect to any ladies out there. If you're listening to this and you're, "Oh my God, he's such a pervert. He wants to work at a strip club." Zero disrespect to anybody. I probably would have been too shy to talk to any of the dancers anyway, but I really needed a job, and I just sat back and thought, "Yeah, why not? It's not, just get a little enjoyment, good scenery." Okay, yeah, I'm coming off as a pig. Sorry. But they hired me on at the Sherwood Peddler, and it was really tough because I spent the last year working nothing but night shifts. And then all of a sudden they said, "Okay, you've got the day shift, starts at 7 a.m. And I went, 7 a.m.? Are you crazy? I said, "What bar is open at 7 a.m.? And they said, "Well, that's the time that legally we can start serving alcohol in Oregon. And plus, don't even worry about this place being dead or anything like that, because you're going to have a lot of people that are night shift workers that are going to come in here. The poker room will be full. You're going to be just fine." And I was like, all right, whatever. And that was my first introduction to switching immediately from night shift to day shift. It's not something that you can just do overnight, especially when you're used to closing at 1 o'clock and getting home by 4, and then all of a sudden you get a shift that's 7 a.m. That is damn near ridiculous. And why do that to your body? Because your body needs time to adjust. And what better way to adjust than to just all of a sudden start working day shift? No. This is the Hey Bartender podcast safety speech right now. Now, I told you, I went from working late at night every night and then all of a sudden got a 7 a.m. shift. It was tough at first because, okay, the first couple days, yeah, cool. Get 2-3 hours of sleep and, lay in bed for like 6 hours staring at the ceiling, but get 2 or 3 hours of sleep and then wake up, drive your ass to work. Make sure you get there by 7 a.m. and then try to stay awake the whole time. Okay, once I started moving around the bar, it wasn't so bad. But the big safety message here is that my body hadn't fully adjusted to working dayside. And there was one day where I woke up and, oh shit, I'm running late, jump into my clothes, get in the car, and start driving. Now, the bar that I worked at was like 15 miles away. And so I'm trying to drive, but then all of a sudden, I don't know if I fell asleep or I just fell into a daze. But all of a sudden, right at the last second, I saw that there was a red light right in front of me. I tried slamming on the brakes to stop before the light, but I couldn't stop, so I just hit the gas and just plowed right through. I was so lucky I did not get into an accident. Luckily, I'm pretty sure the other people at the intersection were seeing, that guy's not slowing down. And then they hear the tires squealing, and then I had to stop. Scared the crap out of me. I had to pull over, take a few deep breaths, because I just realized what kind of danger I put myself and other people into, and said, okay, I've got to wake up earlier than this. Or I've got to get more sleep somehow, because all my friends were working at night and I wanted to hang out with them, but I wasn't necessarily hanging out with them. I was just, used to going to bed a lot later. And the thing I did to stay awake, to make sure that I didn't pass out behind the bar or something like that, I started cleaning. Even the manager wasn't even there yet, that asshole. I noticed that since business was so shitty there, that a lot of stuff didn't get cleaned on any kind of regular basis. I mean, sure, I got a few customers early in the morning, and one day I was ballsy enough to go up to this one guy and say, you just getting off work? And he's downing a rum and coke. And he goes, oh no, I'm a truck driver. I'm heading to work right now. And I went, really? And he says, oh yeah, I drive a lot better with a couple drinks in me. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So that's just another myth for truck drivers to be out there, other than that they drive with women's underwear on and high heels. They're also probably a little drunk and high on crank. Wait, not crank. That's so early 2000s. It's probably meth now. Wait, speaking of meth, did you see that one episode of Breaking Bad? Well, I didn't, so let's move on. At this day, when I was working at the Peddler in the dayside job, it was really boring because a lot of people were afraid to go there because, they have a couple drinks, and the cops watched from across the way like a hawk for people to come out of there and automatically pull them over. But working on the day side, sure, I had maybe 2 or 3 customers come in early in the morning to have a couple drinks before they endure their day. And poker players, the people that waste their complete paycheck during lunchtime that they just got that morning. I'm not making fun of them. I've been there. But once again, it was dead in that place, and the only way I could stay awake was to clean that place from top to bottom. And, because like I said, business was shitty there. And so a lot of stuff got greatly ignored to get cleaned out. Like, thawing out the freezer. I took out all the glassware in the freezer and realized that hidden under all the frost that built up in the freezer was like 12 more glasses. And I was like, okay, yeah, this has got to be thought out. So I spent the day doing that, scraping out the ice, get it done quick, and and then restocking the glass freezer. I pulled all the bottles off of the shelves and ran through the dishwasher, all the glass shelves, and wiped down with sanitizer and glass cleaner the mirror behind the bar. People were complaining about that because all of a sudden it was really bright in that bar after I cleaned it, because nobody, to their knowledge, had ever done it. And plus, this was back in a time where you could smoke in a bar, and this bar was probably fairly old. And so a lot of like cigarette smoke and tar buildup was all over that mirror. And I cleaned that up, and they're like, "Dear God, I can't see anymore." And not to mention the fancy glassware, for your margaritas, for your daiquiris, and all that sort of thing. They were absolutely disgusting. And they had this white film all over them, and dust and stuff like that. So I said, okay, all these are getting run through the dishwasher right now. And I had a couple regular customers that came in the early afternoon, and they were like, "Wow, I don't think I've seen anybody clean that stuff ever." And I said, "Yeah, I've got nothing better to do, and plus this is disgusting." And wiping down all the tables, wiping down everything behind the bar, and that's how I stayed awake for at least a couple weeks, because that bar was disgusting. I'm not saying I would never work in a hole-in-the-wall bar ever again, but just not that one, because I hated working there. The owner was an asshole. There were no customers because everybody in town was afraid to go there, and it was just horrible. And then working on the day side, yes, eventually I did move over to the night side because the head bartender had eventually decided to move on with his life, and where he went, if he went to another bar or if he got another job, I don't know what he did. But eventually that shift was open, and so they moved me over to the night side. And the night side was even worse. I'd have customers in there to maybe 6, 7 o'clock. The place closed at 2. And so between 6 or 7 o'clock to 2 a.m. was me sitting on the bar stools watching Comedy Central. That's it. And it was just horrible place to begin with. But working the day side there, it was a struggle, absolute struggle to stay awake, get there on time. I got in trouble lots for being late because my internal clock hadn't adjusted myself to be up and ready to work by 7 a.m. And because my body said, "What are you doing up at 7 a.m.? Usually we go to bed at 4 or 6. Go back to bed. What's wrong with you?" You have to be a special person to actually want to take the day shift in a bar or restaurant, or at least. No, I'm going to change that phrase. Since most restaurants open around, say 10 or 11 a.m., doing that wasn't so hard. But being up and awake and ready to serve people at 7, you got to be a really special person for that. But then again, I was never a really conventional server. I mean, a lot of servers in a lot of restaurants, they are standing at the head of the table, taking your orders. What can I get you? And, the unconventional part of me was whenever I had to serve tables, I would, if the place was dead or if I was all caught up on everything and it was reasonably relaxed, I'd pull up a chair, sit at the head of the table down at their level and say, "Hey, how's it going? My name's Anthony. So what can I start you off with?" And some people thought that was funny. Some people ignored me completely, but some people thought, "Hey, that's kind of cool." And because I thought coming down, I used to think when servers would do that with me, that was kind of cool. It almost opened them up as more friendly type of person, and not just give me your order. I got to get out of here. And so I used to like to do that just because I'd seen other servers do that in my lifetime, and I kind of liked it. But once again, luck struck on me once again. I absolutely hated working at that bar. And finally, my friend Barb, she calls me up and says, hey, we've got a job opening over here. Why don't you come over here and apply? And I went, God, yes. Because it was back in the town where, same town where I knew the customers from the previous bar that I worked at. And so I was ultimately going to be a little bit more comfortable since I knew majority of the people. And, I was closer to my friends. So yeah, awesome. But, the owner, he was cool enough to find shifts for me. I wasn't really sure if he really had a need for me at the time, but he was cool enough to say, yeah, let's get somebody else in here. You got somebody in mind? And Barb was like, I definitely have somebody in mind. And so I went in there, I applied for the job, and there was really no interview. He just said, hi, welcome. What shifts? Here are your shifts. And I noticed right away I had a couple opening shifts. And I turned my nose up at first, but I also had to remember I need the job. And there were, I think I worked the dayside lunch shift twice a week. And those days were a little bit rough on me. Once again, I'm used to going to bed around 4 to 6 in the morning, something like that. But luckily, that restaurant was open at 10 a.m. So it wasn't really, didn't really beat me up sleep-wise. But once again, between 10 and about 11:30, absolutely nothing to do. I pretty much, got my till ready. If I saw they needed fruit, I'd cut some fruit for the drinks. I worked the bar side. There was another waitress working on the restaurant side. A lot of people, when they came into that particular restaurant, they went into the restaurant side when it came to the lunch rush. I did have a few customers that come in on the bar side, so just because there's no room on the restaurant side, but they didn't drink, they didn't smoke, because you could smoke in bars back then, and they were just there to have a quick lunch and then get right back to work. But once again, I was stuck where you work between 10 and 5, and majority of that time you're sitting around doing absolutely nothing. I mean, if you're on top of your side work, if you're on top of cleaning, there's really nothing to do. And because at that bar, I didn't have to make my own till. Till was usually made ready for me the night before. And when I closed out my till, that was when I gave the till back to the bartender for the late night shift. And everything was cool. But, between 10 and about 11:30, nothing. And then from 1 o'clock till about 3 or 4, nothing. But luckily for me, I worked with some cool people. The waitress that I worked with, didn't talk to her much, but she got her shit done. Once she realized it was time to go pick up her kids at school, she got up and left. And so, but I could handle the whole restaurant by myself. That wasn't a big problem. But my cooks were really cool. There was even one day where one of my cooks went over to Papa Murphy's, I think it was called Papa Murphy's. That place where you go, where you buy ready to make pizza, and he bought the pizza. He cooked it in the oven at the restaurant. We sat down and we had lunch together. That was kind of cool. But like I said, that particular cook, I've said it in previous podcasts. He and I were always really cool together because we were both pop culture junkies. He was way smarter than I am when it comes to, well, pretty much anything. But I learned a lot from him, and he learned a lot from me because he and I started. I knew him from the first bar that I worked at. He would come in and help out the karaoke DJ, or just come in for a visit. But when we started working together, the dynamic changed a little bit, and he and I actually got into greater conversations. Like, he informed me about a lot of stuff of underground comics or underground music, while that was his preference. He liked the underground stuff, the non-mainstream. But then all of a sudden I start introducing him to the stuff that I knew. He really didn't know about Billy Joel until I came along. Just like I didn't know much about the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen comics. I knew nothing about that. And the only reason why we started talking about it is because I read in the newspaper that they were going to make a movie out of it. Not a great movie, but watchable. I feel bad for Sean Connery saying that he thinks that movie killed his career, but to me, he's Sean Connery. Nothing can kill his career, except he's not making very many movies nowadays. Scheduling conflicts, probably. But I started teaching him a little bit more about mainstream music, and it really, I like to think it helped him out a little bit later, because he started DJing at the previous bar I worked at, because the karaoke DJ couldn't make it or didn't want to do the DJ nights. And so he decided, I'm going to do it. And he got hired on by them. And so he'd go in and he started out playing all this music that he thought people would like, but it was all bands that are awesome in their own right. But when you go into a bar, you want to hear stuff you know. You want to have a good time. It makes things familiar. It makes things comfortable. And so he and I sat down and had a long talk about mainstream music. And so one day I helped him out. Like I've told you guys before, I was one of the first people in my circle of friends to have a CD burner. And so I burned him a handful of dance music, or popular music that I thought people of the age group between 21 and 35 would enjoy. I mean, I didn't give him anything by Hanson. I think I gave him some like Ricky Martin, hooked him up with a bunch of 80s hits, and, just gave him stuff that I was certain, the top 40 stuff that people would really enjoy. And he told me that his business changed drastically. More people ran out to the dance floor to dance to these certain songs. And then eventually people were coming up to him and say, hey, do you have this song? And then he'd look at him and say, nope, but next week I will. Then he'd give me a list and say, I need all of these songs by Friday. And I'd be like, no problem. It took me a while to convince him that you could download music online. In fact, he probably to this day, he still sticks up for the music industry of going out and buying CDs, even though you really can't do that anymore. But going out and buying the music to support the band rather than pirate it off Napster, that LimeWire. Those were the things I was using at that point in time. But usually by Friday, I'd have all those CDs burned for him. I'd even take the time to make a really cool jewel case to go with it. And he'd go and make a whole bunch of customers happy the following week. I mean, I guess it made a huge, he even showed up to the next week and told me, it's like, okay, I know I asked you to download She Bangs, but you really got to show up to the bar when that song starts playing because the girls go nuts. And, I was working another night job at the time, and I said, I really love to. I wish I could. But I digress. It was just funny because I would, during the day, burn these CDs for him, hand them over to him, and then he'd make hundreds of people happy. Or maybe 50s. However much the bar could fit. But like working during the day with this guy, it was cool because he and I were both pop culture junkies, and he and I would talk about movies, he and I would talk about music, and it it was nice to have somebody that I that could talk the same language that I could working that shift, because all the other day shift jobs, I really didn't talk to anybody. It was just kind of like pacing up and down the bar, wipe this down, even though I already wiped it down 16 times. And, just, it just felt like I'm bored, but I'm still getting paid hourly for it. So it's not all that bad. Tips were shit, but I'm still getting paid by the hour. So got to be happy about that. Anyway, people, it is time for me to take a break. Time to go out and have a little bit of lunch myself, have a quick smoke, and then get right back to work. But until then, I'd like to introduce this week's musical guest. Hailing from New Orleans, Louisiana, this is Silver Synthetic with their song In the Beginning.
No one around me. Then I saw you. It was so profound to me. Now I'm living like I should in a world that's no good. Are you living or loving the life? Feeling real good, drinking them down in an endless parade around town, and I'm laughing like I should at a world that's no good. Are you living or loving the life? Living like you should in a world that's no good. Are you living or loving the life? In my dreams, I see myself dying. Don't know what it means. I'm doing fine now. It don't matter if I'm good, 'cause I'm living like I should. Are you living or loving the life?
Once again, that was Silver Synthetic with their song In the Beginning. If you want to find out more about them, go to bandcamp.com. That's where I find all the music that goes on this show, and I find some really kick-ass artists to be on here. On Bandcamp.com, you can follow Silver Synthetic, find out where they're playing next if you want to contact them, book them for anything, if you want some of their merch, or listen to more of their music. Just head on over to Bandcamp.com and search out Silver Synthetic. You won't be disappointed. Which reminds me, if you want to be on this show, whether you're a bartender or a musical act, or you just work in the service industry in general, just let me know. Contact me, dude at heybartenderpodcast.com, and let's get you on the show and share some stories, have some fun. That's all it takes. Okay, to wrap up the show, I just want to say I'm not knocking people that work the day side. I'm not knocking working day side, period, because a job is a job is a job. You know, I'm getting paid by the hour. I might as well do it because life is a lot harder when you don't have any money. So, but there are things that just gave me trouble. I do actually prefer at night. I am one of those strange people that likes to work nights. But unfortunately, majority of the stuff that has to be done during the day, especially in the career that I have right now. Just too dangerous to work on wind turbines when it's dark outside. So to all you service people, whether you work in fast food or you work behind the bar or you're a server or you're a cook, all of you that work on the day side, I salute you because that's not something I want to do. But you guys do it and you all kick ass. So anyway, people, it is last call for alcohol. Come on up to the bar because I'm not going out there. You guys scare me. So special thanks to Silver Synthetic for letting me use their single In the Beginning. Remember, if you want to go check out more of their stuff or find out more about that band, head on over to bandcamp.com. And special thanks to Crown Royal, whether they know it or not, that I stole a drink recipe off their website. Go ahead and make that Crown Apple drink and see what you think of it. Let me know what you think about it. And if you want to follow Hey Bartender Podcast, find out when the next episode's coming out, or you just want to see one of the goofy memes that I put up there every now and then, follow me on Facebook or Instagram, both of them Hey Bartender Podcast. If you want to check out some Hey Bartender Podcast merchandise or even listen to the most recent episode, head on over to www.heybartenderpodcast.com and you can pick up some t-shirts, stickers, challenge coins, or just sit there and listen to the new episode. Either way, I'm happy. Also, this year, I want to have more guests on the show. If you remember back in my New Year's resolution episode earlier this year, I want to have more guests. So, no matter who you are, if you work in the service industry, I want to talk to you. So all you have to do to contact me, email me, dude@heybartenderpodcast.com, and we can start talking. We can get you on the show, swap some stories, have a little bit of fun. And, you know, it also gives you a really good chance to promote yourself and promote your shift and get people to look forward to possibly come and see you if they should come into your area of town. I'm actually hoping to start doing a little bit of traveling here and there. So start thinking about it. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you might hear about where I'm going to be. I'm hoping to start doing a little bit of traveling here pretty soon. I'll let you know where I'm going to be, and I want you guys to be a part of Hey Bartender Podcast, and I'd love to have you on my show. So keep that in mind. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and we might get a chance to meet. It would absolutely be my honor. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Remember to share, like, and subscribe Hey Bartender Podcast on Instagram, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, I wish you all lots of love, lots of sex, lots of happiness, and don't take any shit from anyone. Good night.
What do you mean it's last call? I just got here.